So this is our
That's
Be
your
the Spark.
daughter, huh? Oh, okay.
Yes, she's
Hey,
here.
man. Okay. Good to see you.
You're sideways, but
Hello.
Hello, how are you? Good to see you.
Doing good. How are you?
Good, 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 good.
there, that's better. You're
Yeah.
upright. So this is our Be the Spark March meeting, March conversation on connection.
Hmm.
And if you're out there and you want to join us, there's a link in my Facebook group, the Be the Spark Movement group, or there's a link on my Facebook page, Carrie Jordan Myers. So we're going to start with a meditation, and this month's theme is about connection and what connection means and why we need it as human beings. So if you guys want to take just a minute to close your eyes, find some length in your spine, drop your shoulders, and just breathe in here, connecting with your breath. And then imagine a world where we're all connected, where we all give and receive from each other with love and peace. With all those tiny little threads that allow us to know each other, to support each other, and to love each other. Now, if you can, notice how it feels to be connected just with the people on this call. Because even though we're miles apart, we're still connected in our energetic ways of being. We're connected via technology, and we're connected through our thoughts. Just notice how that feels in your body. Let's take one more deep breath in and let it go. And then open your eyes. So thank you all for being here today, and for showing up in vulnerable, beautiful, open way in conversation. So again, today's theme is about connection and what that means to us as human beings and what it means to us individually.
Mhm.
So does anybody want to start off the conversation by what connection means to them?
Yeah, it's interesting. I had forgotten what the topic was. It's interesting that it's connection. This guy said something about connection that I never really thought about. And you guys and ladies can tell me if you agree or not. He said that connection is different from like you can get along with people. But and I'm paraphrasing, so I'm not going to say exactly how he said it, but you can get along with people in work environment, home environment, but it's not like a connection. So the people that you really connect with, and I thought this was really deep, you can separate in time. You know, you can go your separate ways in life or whatever, and come back 20 years later or 10 years later, and that connection is still there. He said that's a different kind of human interaction. And I was like, wow, I never thought about that. But that's so true because I know people that I've known for years and I'm not really connected with them. And then I know people like you all, um, and I've connected with like Jimmy. I know Jimmy through, at least I know you guys in person, but
Right.
I don't know Jimmy in person. But I feel like that connection is, and when the guy was talking about that, I was like, yeah, there are people I just connect with, and I'm going to be connected whether we see each other again in life or not. I'm going to be connected with those people. Whereas the other people, I've been around them all my life, and we're not connected like that. I like them or may even love them. We're not connected in that way. So I think connection is at least for me, um, kind of a sacred thing. It doesn't just happen You know, it doesn't just happen. It's a special moment, I think, a special human interaction. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but kind of hit me that way when the guy was talking about it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because like I mean you can literally just like pass by people and just like be companions or what is it called? It's like um it's, oh my gosh, there's a word for it. Um, but it's like acquaintances, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like you can be acquaintances, but you won't actually like know them.
Mm-hmm.
And like like I highly relate to that. Um, and like there's like it's hard to connect to a lot of people nowadays because of phones and all of that. And I feel like that's like a large part of why we're just kind of like passing by and we kind of just like, hey, how are you? And like that's like it. And I feel like I mean that really explains society nowadays.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I agree. Neil, you want to say anything before I?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think connections, it can be mental, spiritual, physical, lots of stuff. So I think it depends on what the person's relation is to you. My connection with you is different than my connection with Madeline, which is different than my connection with Jeffrey, but doesn't make it any better or worse. It's just how we connect. So maybe talking in circles, but that's how I think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that makes sense.
And I think there's some validity to that difference because, you just, it's an intimacy level, right?
Mhm.
And intimacy, of course, doesn't always have to include sex, but it's how you know somebody and what level you connect with them on.
Mhm.
But we all
I mean
need.
like
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Um, I feel like when you're talking about like intimacy, I feel like there's like a certain emotional intimacy that nobody really like understands. And I mean, like you'll look on and you'll see like if you like literally like Google like spiritual connection, like there's these pictures of like people who have made art about like people's souls connecting, and it like it's not necessarily sexual. It's um it's kind of like the connection of the mind, body, soul through two people, and it's very interesting. And I feel like the thing is like relationships nowadays, it's like more like just physical, and it's literally not emotional or spiritual at all.
Yeah.
And you'll see people, and you'll see them together with their spouse, and you're like, I don't know, it's like there's like a certain like emotional intelligence that a lot of people don't have nowadays, and I don't know, it's just like I feel like that breaks the connection that a lot of people want to have, and it's just really sad.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's not just sexual. I feel like that's the thing that people are like focused on too much nowadays is because they're focused on too much of the physical, they're not actually doing the work
Yeah.
like emotionally.
So true. So it's amazing how yeah, I went through something like that, and yeah, I don't know. If you feel a certain way about a person, there's certain things you just won't do to them. And I'm not talking about like making mistakes and that kind of thing, but I'm talking about just a certain hurt. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's just that disconnect that I see, and I see it so much. I was married for 26 years, and it wasn't a great marriage, but we were friends up until the day she died. We were friends for like 40 years, but we were married 26 years, and we were friends. We really were friends. It was that connection like that. And even though we weren't together, that connection made it so that, when she called me, I was there. I called her, she was there. It was just, and you don't see that even with people that stay together. You don't see that like, and I don't know. They talk about this freedom stuff and everything, uh, we have more access to stuff. I don't know if more access to stuff is necessarily good in all aspects. It's like a treadmill. People treat relationships, whether it's male and female, whatever it is, friendships, they treat it like a treadmill. You know, they just jump off one and jump on another one. And I don't know, even though I don't miss being married, but I miss that connection because I may never have that connection like that again. You know, without what's out here now, oh Lord. Woo! I like being with Jeff. But yeah, you just don't see, you know, I don't know if that's I'm sure it's possible, but uh, I don't I just don't see it. I don't see it, I don't hear about it. And I talk to people all, you know, different various types of people, and a lot of them say the same thing. Even much younger than me are saying the same. I'm like, wow, you feel this way. I've had a little time to look at it and look back at it. You haven't had that much time, but probably have more experience than me in certain aspects. But you already feel that way. So I don't know. This connections are
Yeah,
hard.
like yeah. I mean, like especially with like my generation, and I mean, I don't even know about like the younger generation. I mean, like Gen A, but like Gen Z is like we are so just emotionally drained because we don't know how to have relationships, and
Mm,
Right.
everybody is so like focused on either backstabbing somebody, doing something wrong to somebody just to get like seen by other people,
mm,
that they would rather have that like spotlight or whatever just to mess with somebody.
yeah.
And I mean, like, you'll hear people talk about this, but these are the same. I mean, I have never done anything like this, but these are the same people who are horrible to their friends. I mean,
Mhm.
and it's really sad. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I don't know about the rest of my generation, but I've gotten to a point where I am completely disconnected to all of my relationships because I physically cannot be connected
Mm,
because it's more harmful than it is like good for you.
Beneficial.
And it's really
yeah.
sad. Yeah,
Yeah. It
Yeah.
really,
it's really sad.
it really
I
is.
mean, like,
Oh, go
yeah,
on.
I mean, like, sorry, you have experience, and my mom and my dad have experience in good relationships and with people who actually want to build you up
Yeah.
and
Right.
not bring you down. And like y'all's generation has at least a few relationships with that. But like my generation, it's horrible. It's like, I mean, it's vile and it's sad, but I really do feel like this is deep. Sorry. This is
No,
like, sorry, mom. Um, but like I've gotten to a point where I'm not myself around people because my relationships with others have been like this.
mm,
And I feel bad because I know that this is everybody.
yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I love connection. I love connecting with people, but I literally cannot connect with people my age
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
Oh,
I don't know.
I completely understand. And I'm twice your age, probably more than twice your age. And I don't, I tell my daughter all the time, well, we talk because she's in Australia, but we talk all, I'm like, I don't feel the same. I like in my heart, I'm not perfect. None of us are, but I know I'm a good guy. But when I go outside, I have to put on, I put this wall around myself because people aren't forthcoming and nice and I so I kind of like you were saying disconnect. I kind of disconnect and I hate to admit that, but it's just the truth. When I go outside, I'm a different kind I'm not mean or anything. And the work that I do helps me lower that because I work with autistic kids and with adults with autism. So that helps me lower it because they are so innocent. You know, there's not I don't fear anything. But when I'm around like regular normal people, I can feel that wall comes up. I
Yeah.
really can. I can feel. Oh, she's cramping up.
And
Sorry.
that's sad.
Yeah, it really is. It really is sad. So
So
stuff like this, when we do this, it really helps me, to kind of chime in with people that of like minds, so to speak. But yeah,
well, and to recognize that disconnect too,
mhm,
so you can do something
yeah,
differently if you choose to.
hmm.
So I'm going to share my screen if I can do it right.
So I'm jumping all over the place because I took yoga a few nights ago and my legs are cramping up, so I gotta
Oh
stand
no.
up. So I'm standing up and
Oh,
moving around. So it's not that I'm going. It's
yoga
just
is so good.
yeah, it's a
Can
good.
y'all see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a self-actualization. Okay, so this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Let me get that off there. And so our primary needs is food, water, air, clothing, shelter. And then
Breathing.
above that is, being healthy, having access to employment, financial stability, family, and being social. But the third one is belonging. And it doesn't say fitting in, it says belonging. And I think that's a very important distinction to have. And this sense of connection here. Because without that, we kind of just are fluttering around in the ethers, right? If we don't have people to help ground us and talk to and connect with and, belong with. And then, as we go up, we have self-esteem and confidence. And I think that's important because your sense of belonging, your family, your friendships, and those people that you have an intimate relationship with do help boost your self-esteem. And that's how that builds on that. And then self-actualization is something I'm not sure any of us will ever truly achieve. But there is that acceptance and morality piece in there and living up to your inner potential. So I just wanted to share, this is again Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and connection is something that we as humans we need, we have to have.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important. Hi, we're glad you joined us, Fazia. Just chime in whenever you want.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Not bad, thanks. I saw the link on the WhatsApp group, so
Well,
thought I'd pop
wonderful.
in and see what you guys were chatting about.
Well,
Yeah. So I'm Carrie, and I am co-founder with Jeffrey, and my husband is here. If you want to wave, Neil, and Ellen, my daughter.
Nice to meet you.
Typically we have a few other people on here, but today this is who showed up. So we're just having a conversation on connection. So we're glad that you joined us, and we've just been talking about how it feels to be connected and, some of the hurdles in our world today.
Yep. I do want to say with the self-actualization, I really see like that's the top of the pyramid. But I really do I do believe because that is supposed to be our building block. I do believe that is the exact thing that the government is trying to take away from us is the self-actualization and finding who we are and what we express. And I mean it's really obvious. They're trying to take that away. They give us all these other stuff and they give us the stuff on the bottom of the pyramid, but they don't give us the stuff on the top of the pyramid because they don't want us to be individuals.
Well,
Yeah.
and the truth is, if you don't have the stuff on the bottom, which a lot of people don't, they don't feel secure in where they live. There's scarcity in food, there's unemployment, et cetera, then it's really hard to build beyond that because you are in such a state of chaos from not having security and, food security and housing security and safety in your life.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, of course, you're my daughter, Madeline, I believe we've talked about this, is that there is the fear that is put out in the world. And, this is racism and
War.
sexism and war and ageism and all these isms that have suddenly come up in our world in the past 10 years are ways to divide us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are the land of distractions. We are a world of distractions, and it keeps us distracted from. Did we talk about the rats? The study that they did. They did a study on rats, and 6 rats or 12 rats they put in this nice environment, plenty of food, plenty of water, it's clean. Then they put these other rats in a not so clean environment, And after a while, at first they all started the same. After a while, the ones in the dirty environment start going at each other, it's turned to cannibalism, just crazy.
Oh my
The
God.
Mhm.
great, yeah, the one with the great environment, they just um, continued to procreate. Everything was fine, healthy, no fighting amongst themselves. Then they switched it and put the ones in the bad conditions in the good conditions, and one in the good conditions in the bad conditions. And sure enough, as time went by, the ones in the bad conditions became hospitable towards each other. The ones who had been hospitable to each other in these bad conditions all of a sudden start eating at each other and fighting all the time. So our environments dictate so much of what we do and what we think. So all these distractions take us from ourselves, our inner being, so far from. So when we come in contact with another human being, we are so detached from ourselves. It's hard for us to connect with this human being that I'm looking at. You know, to look at any value in that particular person. So the distractions are terrible. They're just eating away at our fiber as human beings, in my opinion.
I agree. Because if you're thinking, oh my gosh, that's a black man,
Mm-hmm.
or oh my gosh, that's a gay woman, or oh my God, I'm like,
Yeah.
but who really cares? Like, let them be, let us be who we are,
Mhm.
because that in our authenticity is where we connect the deepest. And I
Yeah.
got to where that I kind of weeded out a lot of people in my life that I'm not connecting with because I don't feel that depth with them. And it's probably because they're just meant to connect with somebody else, or they're just not connecting at the time that they come into my life. But I find myself longing for a depth.
Yeah. It's
And
frequency too. You know,
yes,
just not to not to put anybody down, but you know, we're on frequencies, and some frequencies are just low as fuck. They're just low.
Mhm.
And to hang out in those frequencies, to me, is
it's
draining. I'm not putting them
Yeah.
down. I'm better than anybody, but I'm not gonna fuck with frequencies that's way down here. It's draining. I'm trying to be a better person, and hanging out with lower frequencies is not going to help allow me to be a better person. So I got to leave you alone. I respectfully leave you alone. I'll just go and hang out over here, but I'm not going to do it. And for years I did it. Like, okay, let me be a good. No, you drain yourself doing that. So
right,
Mhm.
having a connection on that level is hard anyway. So you got to find people that you connect with on your frequency.
right.
Yeah. And they
Well,
literally,
and if,
like, sorry,
oh, go ahead.
but people on lower frequencies are energy vampires. As I've heard people talk about it as like that. It's like the best way to describe how it feels to somebody who is on a higher frequency. And I mean, personally, gosh, I mean, I literally cannot, this goes in with like the people my age, is I physically cannot be around them because they suck me dry. Like, it's, I don't know why I'm so high frequency, but I've been like this since I was like a kid.
Good,
And
good.
yeah, but
It could be a lonely
it's
thing
weird.
sometimes. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine being alone. Like,
yeah,
that's the thing though, is when you're on a high frequency, you're fine being alone because you
yeah.
don't need
That's true.
somebody to
Very true.
lift you up.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Very true.
yeah. And I think that people who are stagnant in low frequencies, it becomes a comfortable place. So it even rejects people of higher frequencies too, because they're comfortable in their anger and their fear and their disconnection. And they're like, yeah, come sit with me. We're just going to sit here and be mad at each other.
And
And
Yeah.
they're loud. They're the loudest. Think about it. The ones that don't have anything to say the most.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it. They're the loudest in the room.
right,
Mm-hmm.
Loudest in the room.
Because they
So
want
they
that validation.
intimidate everybody else not to say anything because they're talking loud. But because you're talking loud doesn't mean you're saying more important things. It just means you have a loud, bigger mouth. But
right.
there's no doubt about it. They're the loudest.
I can
Yeah.
definitely think of people like that. Like,
Dude, oh, I
it,
see them as I'm saying it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a control thing. People who, one, they can't see a better way of life,
Mm-hmm.
or don't want to see a better way of life, or they're mad at you because you're happy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they're living in their
Yeah.
victim mentality, and they're like, wow, I can't believe you're so happy, and look at you and who you think you're better than. I mean, like, and it just rolls from there, and then they get lower, and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna go over here and be happy.
Yep.
You
Oh, yeah.
sit there in your misery.
Gotta
But
go
that
eat.
space,
Yeah,
but that space.
Yeah.
yeah.
No doubt
But,
about it.
but there's so much truth to technology being a disconnect.
Oh man.
For one, it makes bullying really easy, right? Because
Oh,
you can sit behind your computer and say all kinds of nasty stuff.
Hmm.
You really don't have to stand up to somebody that you're being ugly to.
yep. You really
Yeah,
don't.
the thing is, it's like,
We used to meet people in the park. We'd have a problem with a guy, be like, okay, all right, just me and you, let's go meet at the park. You got all this to say, and we'll handle it there. And either we handle it or we we dealt with it, it's like, okay, I don't want to deal with you, so we'll leave it alone. But on this thing here, you can have this thing going on and this guy is in China somewhere and you're in North Carolina or whatever. And he's saying all kind of nasty. Oh my God, it's crazy.
And why?
mhm,
Yeah, why? Yeah.
Why? What
they
is that?
literally,
Hmm.
they just want attention, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Honestly, like, I mean, seriously, like the people who are trying to bring other people down just want attention,
yeah.
and it's really
Could
sad,
be
but
part
it's
of it.
what society, yeah, it's what society has made, like, I don't know,
The more
like they've
likes you
made
have.
it like,
Yeah,
yeah,
the more likes you have, you
they,
won. If you have more likes, then you won
Right.
that argument. If you have
Yeah.
yeah,
a million people, then you won because you have a million. This person only has 200 or whatever. And that's how they base, what's being said on. I work with, at the school I work at, I work with third graders. And the third graders have their little chat rooms, right? Well, parents have had to intervene on these chat rooms. These are third graders, like 8, 9-year-olds, because the little kids are getting so mean with each other. They're third graders and they're friends in the
yeah,
classroom, but they go home and they get mad at each other and they're saying these mean things. And the parents had to kind of interject and ask the teacher, hey, can we do something about our kids? Because our kids are being nasty on this internet thing. So it started
Yeah.
where
so
did they learn
early.
that?
It's so early. Yeah, I don't know.
But it's
Sad.
also, yeah, it is sad. But it's also a good thing because, I mean, Jeffrey's in the UK, we're in North Carolina, and Phasia, you're in the UK. I mean, Jeffrey's in California. Phasia, you're in the UK, correct?
Yeah, I'm in the UK. I'm close to Liverpool, although I'm not from Liverpool, but yeah.
Cool.
in the UK.
Lucky.
So it also allows us to be in a connection
Yeah,
where we
that's,
choose to be. And that's a beautiful thing.
that's beautiful. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about it.
I mean, it's like WhatsApp group, right? And Jimmy, who is in Uganda, that's part of our team. I mean, without technology, we would never have met him. I would have never met
Yeah.
Jeffrey.
Right. True. So that's the good thing about it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So there are benefits. And it was definitely really great during COVID when
Oh
we,
yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah. I mean, it helped
It's
keep
all
our studio afloat for a minute.
Yeah. Great thing. Yeah. Hmm. Did you want to kick in, Phasia? I like that name. You want to say anything? I talk a lot, so I apologize for that. So you want to jump in
It's
there?
all
Jump in there.
That's fine. It's Pfizer, by the way. I
Pfizer.
say
Pfizer. Oh, I'm sorry.
I
Pfizer.
kind of like the pharmaceutical company, like the vaccine. Pfizer.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I was just curious to see what this was about, really.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Anything you
see
want to
what you
chime
guys
in?
think.
How is it in your part of the world? How do you look at connection as far as where you are?
Um, so yeah, it's an interesting topic, really. I feel like the older you get, I feel like sometimes it's more difficult to find
Hmm.
connection, especially if you're not like a lot of people. I'm in my 30s, and a lot of people in my age group are kind of settling down, having families, sort of consumed by 9 to 5 and
Hmm.
raising a young family and stuff. So I find I'm single at the moment, and I went back to uni as a mature student. So um, I've just found it difficult. Yeah. because you spend a lot of time at work. So I finished my master's and now work, and you don't always want to like have those type of deeper connections with work colleagues. You kind of want to create a separation, but then you spend so much time at work, and then after work, you know, just finding opportunities to meet people and see people are just a bit trickier, I think, or you're so exhausted,
Mm.
you kind of want to
Yeah.
just, you know, be in your own space.
Yeah.
I work in a
Veg
business,
out.
so yeah. So it's not easy. I do find that sometimes even if you don't want to be isolated, you find yourself in
Mm.
more of an isolation, or just find it harder to find people who have time to connect, really. My friendship circles have kind of reduced over the years, not through lack of wanting to connect. I think people just get busy and aren't always just able to find the time to do it. But it is really important to take that time out of life and find people to connect with. I have a few friends that I speak to regularly over the phone, though. That's kind of nice. But,
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Faiza. As you know, as our life ebbs and flows, we find our connections and our friendships ebb and flow too.
Mhm.
You know? But it's
yeah,
important if you really connect with somebody, like Jeffrey said earlier, and I think you weren't here yet, is that, you know, you have your friendships and you're like, call somebody after you haven't talked for 6 months and they're like, oh, I was just thinking about you, or, you know, and you just pick right back up to where you left off last time you spoke. And
Yeah.
those are the friendships we want to hold on to. I have a few of those, and they're just, they're my foundation.
yeah, it's some of those long-term friendships where they've known you through the different seasons of your life. I found like some of the it's interesting because I've had this conversation with someone recently. So like I'm meeting two of my close friends from well, I met them back in 2010, 11 when I was doing my undergrad, and I've seen them in a couple of weeks. And one of them I saw about a month ago, and you're right, we just ended up just having a sofa day where we just sat on the sofa and caught up and for hours, but it didn't feel like that much time had passed. And we don't judge each other or things going on in our lives in the same way that people who have just come into my life recently, I get a snapshot of whatever is going on, and then they're kind of harsher in their assessment as well. Like, you know, I'm not necessarily where I thought I would be right now at this point in my life, but the people that have known me throughout my life are a lot kinder. I don't know if that makes sense. It's just something I kind of felt and reflected on.
Mm.
I think
I mean,
that's a
that
really
makes a lot of
good point.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because those
I mean,
people
they
have
have,
more grace for us.
They're seen as at different stages and at different points. Yeah. Last couple of years have been quite tough for me. Just personal life things and deciding to change career and
Mm.
go back to university and retrain. It wasn't like an easy decision. And I'm not from Liverpool, so my immediate nearest and dearest they live like 3 hours away, so it was tough to
Mm.
just
That is tough.
I mean 3 hours might not seem that long in America, right? It's so huge, but in the UK that's like half of the country. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I get it. My husband and I lived 4 hours from each other during
Yeah.
part of our relationship. So it was a lot of driving.
Mm.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and it's hard on you mentally too. But there's always phone calls, but it's not the same
yeah.
at all.
Yeah, so I think when you find those people that you connect with on such a soul deep level, you got to hold on to them. You got to remember to call them every 6 months at least and say, hey, let's reconnect. What's going on in your life, and having that grace and love and compassion. Um, and we do connect with everybody that we come in contact with in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But there's few people in your life that you connect with on a soul level. It's just like there's no words for what that means.
It's actually good for your health too. I was reading this. I'm a nerd, by the way, Pfizer, so I read. Nerd. But there was a study that was saying it's actually good for your health to have those it was talking about men mostly, but it's for anybody. It was talking about men because I've been studying a lot about men because so many men are committing suicide, younger guys. That comes up a lot with men nowadays because it's happening a lot. But anyway, the study was saying that it's actually good for your health to have those buddies that you can kind of kick it with or play basketball with, just to have those conversations. Is actually good for your mental and spiritual health. So it's not only a connection thing where you feel good about being around them, but it actually serves a purpose in your health and your longevity. So it's really important to have
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which goes back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like, to make you whole, you
Yeah.
need connections. Because we can't be everything to ourselves.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
So
You gotta have somebody to lean on.
yeah, it's very important to have those connections.
And they don't happen in stadiums where it's 50,000 people listening to music. That's cool, but that's not a connection. In my
Right.
opinion, you have to have those real connections, that, those spiritual connections with those 2 or 3 people that really bond with you. That's super important. Super important.
Well, and
And it's
if
sad
you
when
want to,
you lose them too.
yes, yes.
But
And to deepen a connection, we have a touch factor too, like it's great when you can call your friend that lives in Alaska or whatever and talk to them, but to actually like see them, hug them, see tears, see your facial expressions, like that's a whole different level too. It's like when you call somebody and they're like, "Oh, I'm great," but you can't see their face and they're like, "I'm really great," Um, so that in-person thing, which I think due to technology, we do get away from a lot. Um, but then we have things like this, right? That we can actually see each other. But
Yeah.
the touch factor, where you can take somebody's hand or you can hug them if they need to cry and feel their tears and be in that energy with them is important too.
mhm,
What about
it's
I
so
want
important.
to ask this to the group. What about when you connect or you think you connect? At least for me, this was devastating to me because I thought I connected with a few people, but then the connection isn't the same. I think that's a hard thing too, to kind of, I don't know if that's happened to anybody here, but where you think, okay, I would do anything for this person. But then when you roll it back, at least when I rolled it back, would this person do for me what I've done for them? And the answer a lot of times was no. And that's another hurting aspect. That's why I don't know if you were on here, Pfizer, when I said this, that when I go outside, I kind of put up this shield around myself. I'm ashamed to say that, but I'd be lying if I say I didn't, but I do. And I'm not that person, but I have to be that person out here in this world because, a lot of these connections aren't true connections. And I know that. So I kind of just navigate through it as best I can, but I feel that shield. And that makes it even more, that makes me do it even more when I open up to people but they don't give me, it's not reciprocated. So that's a hard thing about connection also that I found.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely identify with that. It's tough. It's tough when you put more energy into something and you think the other person feels the same way, but then later you recognize that it's just you, and
Mm-hmm.
without your energy and effort, probably the relationship or interaction wouldn't have gone as far.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's painful.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of examples. Really, I really do identify. That's happened in like platonic friendships and in romantic interactions as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of like your cup is full, but theirs is empty, and you're just pouring all of your cup into theirs, and then you're left with nothing
yeah.
because
Yeah, that's a good point.
it's never reciprocated.
Right. Right.
Well, people sometimes are very, I don't know if careless is the right word, but they will commit to things or say things, and I think a younger version of me used to just take that as it was and believe, oh, this person says this is how they feel about me,
Mhm.
then this must be the way they feel, but then they don't back it up through their actions, and
Yep,
um,
and that's
sometimes it takes some time to recognize that you don't
Yeah.
always, because you really want to, especially when you really like someone, you really want
Yeah.
to cling on to the idea that you have of them, and you create this version of them in your head.
Right.
Yeah.
And then later on, you
Yeah.
kind of, the rose tinted glasses come off, and
Mm-hmm.
actually
mhm.
this
That's
person,
that's
the
the darkest
fantasy
one.
version I have of this person is way better than the actual reality.
Yeah. And that's
Mm.
friends, that's across the board. It's family. I'm not talking about just romantic, just family, friends. I've known
Yeah.
people for years and years, and I just now am meeting them, which is interesting. I've known them all these years, but I'm just now meeting them. And the last couple of years have been tough for me for whatever reason. I guess God or Allah, whatever you want to call it, has had. But I've learned so much in the last couple of years about people and about myself. If I was going to boil everything into 2 years, these last 2 years were, wow, monumental as far as lessons. But yeah, you think you know people for 40 years, 30 years, 10 years, but then you meet them in a couple of months, like, wow, I don't really like you. Wow.
Yeah, you're
I,
actually an
I
asshole.
didn't know you. I thought I knew you, and
Why
I
did I
really,
take
Yeah.
this shit off you? Yeah.
yeah, I really don't like you. So it's a man, life is interesting. So these kind of things are so good because you get to talk with people on, kind of on
Mhm.
mindset. It's really healthy, I think.
Yeah. I was just having this
Mm.
conversation earlier today, and this person was wanting to get to know this other person, right? And there was a rejection in there, but what he needed to understand is that it's probably her stuff, has nothing to do with him. So even though he was trying to make a connection, she was like, yeah, like I'm not ready, or I have some wounds that are healed that are causing me to pull away from, and possibly anybody who wants to make a connection with her.
Mm.
And to separate ourselves as like, even though like I am connected to you and I think you're a good person and I want to be friends with you or whatever, we have to realize that they're coming at us from their
Mhm.
situation and their experiences and their walls. So there's also, we got to protect ourselves
Mhm.
and back away when we can no longer be in their energy. But we also have to give people grace because we don't always know their stories
Right.
and how life has affected them.
Mhm.
So what a fine line that is.
Yeah.
Mhm. I mean, like
Yeah, I
I
think
like talking about that.
reframing it. Sorry, carry
Sorry,
on.
no, you go ahead.
No, I think reframing it in that way as well allows you to protect yourself from the hurt of
Hmm.
feeling rejected from someone as well.
Absolutely.
To,
Yeah,
it's a them
and
thing. It's
Yeah.
not a me thing. There's nothing that's missing in me. They're just not
Yeah.
ready for whatever it is I was offering in
Mm.
that. So,
So true.
Yeah. So many powerful thoughts around this. Our conversations just keep,
My God, week to week, it's just like fire. Every
Yeah.
week, every week is so fun. Oh my God, I loved it. I really, it's really something.
well, does anybody have anything else they want to add or sentiment or epiphanies?
um,
so can I just know a bit more about what this is then? Like, so do you guys meet weekly, or how does it work, or what does everyone do?
Well, right now it's once a month. And
Mhm.
so if you want to friend me on Facebook, it's Carrie Jordan Myers. And then I can invite you to our group. or you can just join the group. It's Be the Spark Movement. And so once a month, we have a theme or a conversation around whatever. I can't remember what April's is, but we're set through the rest of the year. We've had conversations on forgiveness, fear, gratitude. So we just sit and have a conversation around whatever that theme is and kind of take it apart and see how it can help people grow. And then I've just started putting these conversations on YouTube. So that's taking me some time. And it's allowing people to realize that we are way more alike than we are different, and to build a community around compassion and love and unity.
Yeah, we are so much more alike than
Mhm.
different. When you think about it, like if you ask a 6-year-old, well, your friends have one of your friends has brown eyes and the other friend has green eyes. Who do you like better? They were like, that's stupid. A 6-year-old would know that. But we allow the differences in shade of pigment shade to determine how we feel about somebody. If you think about it from a child's point of view, it's really ignorant. It really makes absolutely no sense.
Absolutely.
Absolutely no sense. My daughter lives in Australia, and she's a social worker in Australia. And the same things that she was dealing with in LA, she's dealing with in Australia. But these are all white people in Australia. So she's like, man, she's not used to being in an environment where she's used to like being black and brown people here in LA. Well, in Australia, they have the same problem, but it's all white people. So it's not color, it's where you are in society. It has nothing to do with the fucking color, So she's like, oh my God, they're going, well, those are people, and people go through people stuff regardless. But
Absolutely.
we are more, it's just, yeah. When we think
And that's
about,
what it's all about,
yeah,
right?
when you think about it from
Recognizing.
recognizing a 6-year-old recognizes that, like, what does that have to do with anything? But yeah, all these distractions that we
Yeah.
allow in the way of our bonding and connecting with people.
Yeah, it gets in the way of mental, emotional, spiritual, and even our physical health. All these things that are put on us in a lot of ways by society. So we're deconstructing society. We'll just say that.
That would be like a 48-hour long conversation. For real.
That's a lifelong experiment. Yeah, definitely.
We just be the spark, we
That's
just
it.
show somebody and just
Yep.
that light just keep light thing. So that's all you can do. That's all
Yep.
you can do.
Cool.
Well,
Okay.
Faiza, you come back and join us in April and bring some friends. And I need to get better at making sure people know when it is and what we're talking about. I am terrible at the marketing thing, so I got to depend on you guys to share too. So we hope that you can join us. The next one will be the third Saturday in April, which is, let me look at that date. Is the 20th. So if you can join us, we would love to have you. And I will be sending out invites. You can also sign up on the website to be a part of the newsletter, which I got to get that one together too. So people who join the website can be more, we can be more in touch with what's going on. All right. If no one else has anything to say, we are going to end right here. And I have truly enjoyed connecting with you guys on this level of conversation and love and compassion. And I look forward to seeing everybody again in April. Well, I'll see you guys in a few minutes, but
Yeah. Have a good rest of your weekend.
Yeah, have a great
Nice to
week.
meet you.
sending everybody love.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Enjoyed it. Take care. All right, bye.